Okay, in this video, I'm going to introduce you to Adobe Illustrator, and we're going to do just a really simple project where you're just going to make a collage of shapes. Okay, so your final project is going to look something like this. You don't have to copy it exactly like mine, but I just want you to learn some of the techniques. So it's pretty flexible. So what you'll do is, let's go over that. I want to make sure ahead of time that you understand that your project is not to just draw 4 shapes. You're actually going to have 4 big squares with 4 smaller squares inside. So you'll have a total of 16 squares with shapes inside of them. All right, let's set up your file. So you're going to make it 8 inches by 8 inches. You're going to have 4 artboards. So let's go into Illustrator and say a new file. And you want to go over here and make it 8 by 8. Make sure that you're in inches, not pixels. You want to be in inches. And then this is very important here, artboards. You want to have 4 artboards. And you can leave this on RGB and 300 and say create. So then you should have these 4 different squares. These are called your artboards. And we're going to start off just by drawing some squares inside the squares. So each one of these artboards is going to have 4 squares inside of it. So the first tool that you're going to use over here is called the rectangle tool. There's 2 ways you can draw a rectangle. You can click and drag, or you can just click on the artboard and put in a specific number. And we're going to do that for our first one. So you're going to click on the rectangle tool and then just click on your artboard, and it gives you the size here where you can put in what you want. And I want your first squares to be 4 by 4, and then say okay. All right, so you'll notice it starts off giving you a white, it'll probably give you a white square with a black stroke. So in Photoshop, the difference is this was your foreground color, this was your background color. Now this is your, the color of your shape and the outline or stroke of your shape. Okay, so I want my shape to be a color. I'm gonna double click on that first square there and choose a color. So I'll pick this blue and I'll say okay. And I don't want it to have a black outline. So I'm going to click on the stroke, and then over here where this little box is where it says none, I'm going to choose that. So this red line means there's nothing there. So it's no stroke at all. And then I'm going to go back to the fill color. In order to move something, you need to use your selection tool. There's 2 different selection tools. This is the just main selection tool, the one that has the empty arrow inside of it. So we're going to use that, and then you can take it and move your shape anywhere you want. I'm going to put this first one in the top corner. All right, and then I'm going to make another rectangle. So I'm going to click on here, put on my desktop. I want it to be 4 by 4 again. Whoops. Say okay, and if you want to change the color, you just double click that, and then you can choose a different color. And then once again, you're going to get the selection tool at the top and move it wherever you want your next color to be. All right, so I want mine to alternate between being blue, pink, and then I want pink, blue. So I'm going to copy this. So you can either click on it and do Command-C, Command-V, or you can click on something and just hold the Option key on your keyboard. Notice when I do that, it gives me a double arrow. That means it's going to copy. All right, so I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this blue square. I'm going to hold down the Option key and get the double arrow. And that means I can click and copy that. Now you'll notice up here at the top, there's some alignment tools. So if I zoom in, Command plus, you'll see that I have like a little bit of space. I didn't align this I didn't align this very well. So I'm going to click here, and then at the very top, it has these alignment things. I want it to be aligned to the right, and I want it to align to the top. And then this one, I want it to align to the top, but I want it aligned to the left. This one here, I want aligned to the bottom and the right. And this one I want aligned. So I'll even move it so you can see that it actually does it for you. It puts it on the bottom and then align left. All right, so now all those squares that I made are all aligned perfectly. So make sure after you draw those that you align them. All right, now I'm going to show you how to make a couple more shapes. Let's do another square shape. This time, instead of clicking and making it like this where we do an exact size, I'm just going to draw a free rectangular shape. So when you draw, click and hold, don't let go. You can drag out the size that you want it to be. Now, if you want it to be a perfect square, you're going to hold down the shift key. So notice when I'm holding the shift key, I get a perfect square. When I don't hold the shift key, it's more rectangular. So I want a perfect square. I want to show you how to rotate a shape. If you hold your, drag your cursor around to the corner, there it is, right there. See how it gave me a little curved icon? That means I can rotate that. So you can free rotate it, or if you hold the shift key, it will lock it into every 45 degrees. So I want to put that there. And I'm going to hold this, whoops, and you can use your arrow keys to nudge things. So maybe I want to put it right about there. So that's how you rotate something. Now, maybe I want to put a circle inside that. So I get my ellipse tool and I click and drag, and I want this to be, if I want it to be the same blue color I've already used, I can get the eyedropper and put that in there. And again, I'm going to center that in here. All right, so there's one right there. One of my first square can be done. That's enough for that one. I want to show you also how to do just an outline of something. So let's say I want to have this big circle here, but I want it to just be the outline of the circle. You can go over here and I can switch this. So it's just the outline. And if I want the stroke or outline to be bigger, you can go up to the top and just make the stroke thicker. All right, so that's how you can do an outline. What else can I show you? Let's say you want to do a triangle. If you go up here and let's go back to the rectangle tool and we draw this. Notice how when you have a shape, it has these points on the end of it. If you want to get this other selection tool, this is called the direct selection tool. So let's click off of that so I have nothing selected, and then go over here to just that point. Now let me zoom in here. Notice how when I have only one point selected with the direct selection tool, this one is blue, these little points here are white. I know it's kind of hard to see, but this one is blue. That means that's the point that's selected. So I can press delete on my keyboard, and I have part of the square is selected. Let's put it back on fill so you can actually see. All right, now we have a triangle. So that's how you can make a triangle. Once again, I'll review. You can put a shape here, and it works better when it's fill versus stroke. Get the direct selection tool, click off of everything, then go back and click the one point you want and press delete, and then you have a triangle. And now I'll show you real quick how to make a half of a circle. So let's get the ellipse tool and draw a circle. Let's make it the pink color that we had before. And I'm going to make it a half circle. So I'm going to get the direct selection tool, click off of that, then click back on just the one point and then press delete. And now I have a half of a circle. So if I wanted to rotate it and hold the shift key to keep it perfectly straight, I can do that. And then let me show you one other tool here. Let's go to this rotate tool. You don't really need the rotate tool because you can rotate by holding on the outside, but let's say you want to reflect to have the opposite. If you click on that and then double click it, you can tell it to copy the shape. So it reflected it but made it a copy. So if you were wanting to make something like that, you could do that. And then I also want to show you how to do a shear. So let's do a shear is when you take like a rectangle, you have this, and the shear tool is also in the same nested toolbox. Click on the shear tool. What you can do there is click on one side and then click on another side and it shears it. If you hold the shift key, it'll stay perfectly straight. So if you wanted to make some lines that look like that, you can do that. And let me show you how to copy something easy. You can always do Control-C, Control-V to copy, but let's say you wanted to make a whole row of these shapes. If you click on it, hold the Option key you're making a copy, but if you hold the Shift key while you do it, it keeps it perfectly aligned. So let me do that again. Click on my tool, hold the Option key, drag down while I hold the Shift key. If I do Control D, that means it duplicates what I just did. So you can quickly have a bunch of those shapes by doing the Control D. All right, so don't forget that I'm not going to show you how to make every single one. I want you to use your creativity, but use the techniques that I showed you in this video and make sure that each one of these artboards has 4 different squares with the designs in them that you make. Try using different colors. Try using the stroke versus the fill. Try using different fills. Use the direct selection tool and to eliminate a point. Learn how to use the shear tool and how to copy things by holding the Option key. Learn how to use the Shift key while you're doing stuff to, make things perfectly straight, like perfectly square, just like on the rectangular tool. If you're drawing an ellipse, if you draw it without holding the Shift key, it's going to be more egg-shaped, but if you hold the Shift key, that makes it a perfect circle. All right, and then let me show you how to do it when you're finished with all of those. Let's say I already had all those done. You'll obviously want to save this, and then you want to go to Export, and you want to go to Export As. You're going to want to choose JPEG, and this is the most important part. You want to say Use Artboards. That way it'll save all 4 of these that you made. You'll have 4 different JPEGs that will come from using artboards, and then you'll put that in your OneNote file for grading.